A mistura de internet com saúde pode ser muito positiva. Muita gente hoje compartilha os seus dados na rede e acaba ajudando com isso na própria pesquisa científica. Em que medida esses dados precisam ser bem protegidos e anonimizados para que as pessoas não acabem sendo discriminadas por eventuais situações que elas estejam enfrentando. A tecnologia está mudando a forma como as pessoas lidam com a própria saúde. Hoje tem muita gente que monitora dados pessoais e coloca na internet compartilhando com outras pessoas. É o caso, por exemplo, de horas de sono, taxa de açúcar no sangue e até mesmo desempenho esportivo. Isso está gerando um mercado de mais de 100 bilhões de dólares, inclusive envolvendo informações genéticas. Será que essas informações vão ser protegidas ou será que elas podem até ser utilizadas para discriminar as pessoas que estão compartilhando seus dados de saúde? Um dos movimentos que mais crescem hoje é o movimento do Quantified Self, ou seja, o eu em números. É um grupo de pessoas que passou a monitorar seus dados de saúde e colocar tudo online para que qualquer pessoa pudesse ver.
There are all kinds of tools, there's all kinds of sensors and trackers, and these things are getting cheaper, sexier, much cooler. Without some kind of metric, it's hard for me to know the path to get from here to there. Some people are just fascinated by the fact that they can track all this stuff. They're not even sure what the question is yet. Many people here are very interested in what we call hacking their health or biohacking. So looking at ways I can accelerate, my superhuman powers.
Um caso muito interessante é do Ari Meisel, um cara que sofria da doença de Crohn, considerada incurável, e que, monitorando os dados do próprio corpo e fazendo exercícios e mudando a alimentação, conseguiu controlar todos os sintomas. Para você ter uma ideia, ele faz hoje até triatlon.
It started with basic stuff like tracking food and exercise. But then I got into a lot more detail with X-ray imagery and ultrasounds and blood work, hair analysis, DNA, everything that I could think of. It was all technology-based. Everything from iPhone applications to web applications, heart rate monitors, pedometers, and then that stuff would be put into Excel spreadsheets and graphed over time. It was a constant push for me to try to figure something out.
Outro exemplo é o da Marie Dupuche, uma publicitária que decidiu controlar o seu humor em todos os momentos do dia. E a partir desse diário, ela estabeleceu correlações entre como ela se sentia com a alimentação, quantidade de horas de sono e assim por diante.
By doing it over a period of time and very strict with the schedule, I was able to find some really great insights about my own mood and mood variables and things that increase and definitely decrease my moods. My phone became a big part of my project, so a byproduct of that project became an iPhone application, which I'm still working on. It's not actually out in public yet. It's just for mood alone. This is how you feel. It was Sunday at 2, and I was here at this time, and every Sunday now I realize that this is not something that I don't really have a high mood point. It's a low point, actually. And so you have to consider, well, what am I going to do now to change my Sunday afternoon?
Outro caso interessante é do Adam Leibson, um cara que inventou uma ferramenta para monitorar o uso da internet por parte das pessoas. Muita gente nem percebe, mas pode estar até meio que viciado na rede. E esse aplicativo te mostra exatamente os sites que você visitou, por quanto tempo, permitindo que você decida se o seu uso está sendo construtivo ou uma mera perda de tempo.
I've worked in marketing for about 8 or 9 years, and because we saw that data was being taken and collected, and we had no say or control over it, we thought that we might want to be able to try to at least hold a mirror to it. We actually wrap all that up and give it right back to you in infographics, so really cool visuals about how you use the web. You can keep all the data for yourself. You can look at your own graphics, keep them in isolation, keep them sequestered. As a result, we're calling it the first antisocial social network, because we socialize the behavior, but not your identity or anything like that. We're not interested in trying to exploit your data. We're interested in trying to find value in it for you.
It's possible now to track all this stuff, and with computational software and also open source software, people are able to create their own mapping and data logging structures.
I think it's just this like ancient idea of self-awareness. You can have self-awareness by being very, very still and observing with your mind and your body, which is the only thing we really could ever do. And now with technology, I feel like it's really the exact same kind of impulse to have lots of sensors on you and have that awareness be like categorized and put on a screen for you to see.
When I read a lot of articles about quantified self, they start looking at all the things people are tracking, right? Money, behavior, mood, sex, sleeping. People, I think, immediately imagine these individuals don't have a life. But in fact, that's just a collection of the types of things that we see here. But most people approach it in a very episodic, goal-oriented way. I'm trying to run a marathon. Over the next 6 months, I'm going to instrument myself, aspects of myself in running, to get to the marathon.
A mistura de internet com saúde pode ser muito positiva. Muita gente hoje compartilha os seus dados na rede e acaba ajudando com isso na própria pesquisa científica. Em que medida esses dados precisam ser bem protegidos e anonimizados para que as pessoas não acabem sendo discriminadas por eventuais situações que elas estejam enfrentando. Tem empresas que apostam cada vez mais na relação entre internet e genética. É o caso da 23andMe, uma empresa que foi fundada pela esposa de um dos cofundadores do Google. Eles pedem para que você mande uma amostra da sua saliva e a partir dali, em troca de $99, você recebe um relatório mensal dizendo não só a sua propensão para desenvolver doenças e até mesmo as suas relações de parentesco. Uma das preocupações da GeneWatch é que eles dizem que a informação que dá para saber a partir do seu DNA nem sempre é tão confiável quanto as pessoas imaginam.
There's a very small number of families in the whole world where actually a very rare genetic mutation can give them Alzheimer's disease at an early age. So those tests are really quite predictive. But most families, most people who get Alzheimer's disease, actually you can't predict that from genetic makeup.
Outra preocupação é que hoje é muito fácil coletar o DNA das pessoas. Basta a saliva ou até mesmo um fio de cabelo. Então essa instituição chamada Conselho para uma Genética Responsável quer justamente fazer com que a aplicação de testes de DNA aconteça apenas quando houver um consentimento prévio da pessoa.
I don't think that most people realize the extent to which genetic information is being collected everywhere from direct-to-consumer genetic testing companies to biobanks at hospitals. There's 56 countries where law enforcement is allowed to collect DNA evidence of even individuals suspected but never convicted of a crime and put in a database for which it stays forever.
Será que ao compartilhar os seus dados genéticos, eles não podem acabar sendo utilizados contra você?
Any entity that needs to make a cost decision based upon that individual may want to make a decision based upon whether that individual would be expensive.
One of the big dreams about genetic information is that it can be used for personalized marketing. So you're told you're at risk of getting heart disease at some point in the future. Why not buy this cholesterol-lowering margarine? Why not buy these medications?
Companies are profiting greatly from the use of genetic information in their research, and we hope that they're successful in finding all kinds of new treatments. But we also want to make sure that the information that is collected is secure, and we also want to make sure that people are fairly compensated if their information is used to make money.
Esse mesmo conselho está preocupado também com patenteamento de informações genéticas. Imagine só se o nosso genoma humano começar a ser privatizado e terem donos para cada segmento do nosso DNA.
One of the things that's happening in America now is there's a big debate around the breast cancer gene. So there's a company that holds the patent at the moment, and then it was sort of called off in court, and then recently they appealed, and now it got approved again, and then they'll probably appeal again. They're kind of hugely important sort of ethical questions. That's not about technology anymore. That's about, can we own this bit of information that's life? If one company owns that, no one else can test for that gene sequence. And so to commercially exploit that, that's a worrying thing to me.
Muita gente hoje usa a internet para buscar informações sobre saúde. Faz sentido, porque se você sofre de alguma doença crônica, é até bom você ir para a rede, porque você descobre outras pessoas e facilita enfrentar aquela situação tão difícil. Então a questão hoje é como aproveitar os benefícios, mas de uma forma ética e que coloque o ser humano em primeiro plano.
I think that the people who are growing up around the internet have a different attitude about privacy, about personal information. There's a really big movement in giving things away, in opening things up and sharing.
In general, information discovery should be shared because that's how we benefit from each other. I never know, there might have been somebody doing something very similar that could have shared a key fact with me.
People now, today, are trying to really be active and really participate in their life and take control of their behavior. And if that information is available, it would be really great for people to be able to really do something with it.
Our bodies are generating all kinds of information. When I start to compare myself to a whole bunch of other people's data set, I find that, oh, well, this individual who's, say, 10 years older than me, who's been tracking all their life, and I can now look at where they were at my age, but then the decisions that they made and how it affected them when they were in their 70s might help me change my behavior or do things a little bit differently.
In general, I think people need to be much more skeptical about the claims that are being made. Your DNA is personal, and you should try and keep it to yourself.